In today's video, we're stepping into a case that shook the quiet city of Davison, Michigan. A case built on betrayal, hidden motives, and a darkness that grew right inside a family home right after what should have been one of the happiest times in a couple's life. Before we go deeper, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss these real crime breakdowns. This story begins in September 2014, a month that should have held nothing but peace for Christina and Thompson Harris, known to her loved ones simply as Christy. She was 36 years old when her life was taken from her in September 2014. And before we talk about the crime, it's important to talk about who Christina truly was. She deserves to be remembered for the life she lived, not the way her life ended. Christina was described as a warm, devoted mother, someone fully present for her two children, including her 4-month-old baby girl. Think about that for a second. She was caring for a newborn while managing everything else in her life. A woman juggling two children, including a baby barely out of the hospital. Christina had just earned a promotion at the Ascension Genesis Hospital subway shop in Grand Blanc Township, one of the busiest in Genesee County. Her co-workers described her as a natural leader, a calm guide, and the person you'd want in charge when things got stressful. But above everything, she was an incredibly attentive mother. While breastfeeding, she carefully monitored everything she ate to protect her baby. Remember that it becomes crucial later. She loved swimming, crafting, and having family game nights with her kids. To anyone watching from the outside, it looked like she had stability, work, family, a home, and two beautiful children. But inside the walls of that home, things were far from stable. Christina's co-workers said she would never use drugs, especially something as deadly as heroin. She cared too much about her health, her future, and her children's well-being. That detail alone should raise alarm bells as you hear the rest of this story. Christina's mother told investigators that her daughter's marriage to Jason Harris had been declining for a long time. And not the normal ups and downs of marriage, this was something different. Something darker. While Christina was at home taking care of their kids, one of them only 4 months old, Jason was sending intimate emails and photos to multiple women. And it wasn't some casual flirting. Investigators found over 3,000 text messages between Jason and a woman in Rhode Island. Christina had seen some of the messages on his phone before her death. Imagine that pain. You're home doing everything, feeding a newborn, taking care of the house, holding your family together, only to discover your husband is living a separate romantic life behind your back. And the timeline gets even more disturbing. Just 2 days after Christina died, Jason bought a plane ticket to visit one of these women in Providence, Rhode Island. 2 days. His wife wasn't even married yet. Then, only 2 months after Christina's death, Jason moved in with another woman. He renewed insurance paperwork for his deceased wife faster than most people renew car insurance. That tells you exactly where his priorities were. As investigators spoke to more people, a horrifying pattern emerged. People who knew Jason at work told police that months before Christina's death, he had been asking them for Xanax. One co-worker said he gave Jason 5 pills, only for Jason to later admit he crushed them and put them in Christina's drink, but she tasted it and refused to finish it. Jason then asked the co-worker, "What pills don't have a taste?" Another co-worker reported Jason asking the same thing, "What drugs have no smell and no taste?" It wasn't a one-time comment, it was part of repeated conversations. Planned, tested, calculated. Jason allegedly told one co-worker that he had already put drugs into some of Christina's food to try to make her sleepy. Think about the level of cruelty here. The person Christina trusted most was drugging her, experimenting, trying to find the right combination. And he didn't stop there. A friend later told police that in August 2014, just 1 month before Christina died, Jason claimed he hired a hitman. That hitman was eventually caught with a firearm, which ruined the plan. But the intent was already there. Jason wasn't done. He allegedly offered $20,000 to 2 different people, one of them a former co-worker, to kill his wife. This was not rage. This was not a spur-of-the-moment crime. This was months of attempts, failures, and new plans. And here's where, just days after Christina died, Jason's own brother and sister went to Davison police. They told officers that Jason had spoken openly about killing Christina in the past. They warned police that their own brother might be responsible for his wife's death. Think about how serious that is. Your own family goes to the police because they believe you're capable of murder. On September 29, 2014, the day before Christina died, a Sunday, her mother had spent most of the day at the house. She said Christina was happy, healthy, normal, which directly contradicted Jason's version of events. Jason told police Christina claimed she was hungry that night, so he made her cereal. A simple scene, a husband making his wife a late-night snack. But the neighbor later told investigators something different. Christina had dropped the bowl and suddenly collapsed. She didn't just feel sick. She didn't feel tired. She passed out instantly. That only happens when something is in your system. Jason told investigators that on the night of September 29th, Christina struggled to hold her spoon. He said he put her to bed and they slept. But according to him, she never woke up. He left the house the next morning with both kids, claiming she was still breathing but unresponsive. What kind of husband leaves a woman who is not speaking, not waking, not responding? Around 10 a.m. on September 30th, 2014, he called a neighbor and asked her to check on Christina. The neighbor said this was extremely unusual. When she entered the house, the door was open. Christina was sitting upright in bed but unresponsive, cold, gone. A nurse neighbor confirmed immediately that Christina was dead. A mother of two, 36 years old, dead in her own bed. At first glance, it looked like a tragic accident. The medical examiner ruled it an unintentional heroin overdose in 2014. That's it. However, that theory had a major flaw. Christina's friends and family knew her better than anyone, and not one of them believed she would ever touch drugs. It wasn't denial. It wasn't grief talking. It was a simple truth: Christina was the least likely person to use heroin. So they pushed back. Hard. 2 days after she died, her family walked into the Davison Police Department and insisted something was wrong. They told officers the overdose ruling didn't make sense, not with the Christina they knew. And thank goodness they refused to stay quiet, because what happened next shows exactly why families must fight for their loved ones. Her co-workers came forward, 2 people who saw her every day. They immediately reported her death because they knew the truth. Christina was health conscious, responsible, breastfeeding, and extremely careful about everything she put in her body. The idea of her using heroin wasn't just unlikely, it was impossible. This wasn't a family in denial, this was a community sounding an alarm. And their persistence made all the difference. Later on, Christina's mother, Kathy Mays, was formally recognized as Victim Champion of the Year for refusing to let her daughter's case be swept under the rug. Without her, this would have remained an accidental overdose. From a forensic standpoint, this is where the case becomes groundbreaking. Christina's dedication to her baby ultimately became the key to proving her innocence. While breastfeeding, she froze bags of breast milk for her 8-month-old daughter. Investigators recovered those frozen samples, and in a move never before used in a Michigan homicide investigation, scientists tested them for drugs. If Christina had been using heroin or any other controlled substances, it would have shown up in her milk. It always does. But the results came back clean. Completely clean. Multiple samples were tested by the forensic crime lab, and not a single trace of illegal drugs was found. Zero. For the investigators, this was the turning point. Science proved Christina wasn't a drug user, which meant the heroin inside her body didn't get there by accident. Someone gave it to her. The breast milk became the smoking gun. With the accidental overdose theory shattered, investigators turned their attention to Jason Harris, and what they uncovered was devastating. In August 2019, the Genesee County Medical Examiner officially changed Christina's cause of death from accidental to homicide. This opened the door for prosecutors to file murder charges after 5 years of delays, questions, and inconsistencies. From there, detectives began building a timeline. His co-workers told police about his months-long obsession with drugs that don't taste or smell. They talked about how he had asked for Xanax, crushed pills, and admitted putting substances into Christina's food. Others confirmed he tried to hire hitmen and was deeply involved with multiple women while his wife struggled to keep their family intact. Police also discovered Jason had been fired from his job after testing positive for drugs, giving him access to heroin and giving investigators a clear source. Piece by piece, everything pointed toward the same conclusion. This was a planned killing. By August 2019, police finally had enough. Jason Harris, then 44 years old, was arrested and charged with first-degree premeditated murder, solicitation of murder, and delivery of a controlled substance causing death. Genesee County Prosecutor David Layton didn't mince words. At a press conference, he said, "We believe Jason Harris murdered his wife. We believe he put heroin in her cereal and milk the night she died." Christina's family waited 5 years for that moment. But why did Jason want her dead? Investigators pointed to 3 motives: money, convenience, and selfishness. After Christina died, Jason collected $120,000 in life insurance. He avoided child support, avoided alimony, and immediately brought another woman into the home just 2 weeks after his wife's death. To him, murder was easier than divorce. During the trial, prosecutors laid out the pattern clearly: the affairs, the financial gain, the hitman attempts, the drug interest, the insurance payout, the sudden girlfriend, and his disturbing lack of greed. It didn't take long. On November 18, 2021, a jury found Jason Thomas Harris guilty on all counts. Judge David J. Newblett delivered the sentence, life without parole. And he didn't hold back. The jury's decision has finally shown you for the selfish, murdering, lying monster you are. Jason appealed, claiming ineffective counsel, but the Michigan Court of Appeals upheld the conviction in February 2023. The evidence was overwhelming. His appeals will continue, but none are likely to overturn the verdict. Yet the true tragedy is what this crime did to Christina's children. A newborn who will never remember her mother. An older child who must live with the truth: their father murdered the woman who gave them life. 2 innocent lives left in the crossfire of one man's greed. This case raises powerful questions about domestic violence. Jason didn't bruise Christina. He didn't yell or hit. He used manipulation, secret planning, and poison, the kind of violence that leaves no marks but destroys everything. It also shows why speaking up matters. Christina's family refused to accept the easy answer, and because of them, a murderer was exposed. And finally, it demonstrates how forensic innovation like testing breast milk can change the course of a case entirely. Christina Harris deserved more. Her children deserved more. But because her family fought, her story didn't disappear under a false label of overdose. Justice found its way through. May Christina rest in peace, and may her story remind us that sometimes, the truth hides in the places no one thinks to look. Let me know your thoughts on this case in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a true crime breakdown.